question for Jeremy, please press the raise hand button on your screen and we will get to you. Wait a second here for everyone to get in. Again, media, if you have a question for Jeremy, please press the raise hand button and we will get to you. We'll start with Mark Lazarus with The Athletic. Laz, you can go ahead.
Hey, Jeremy, very small thing here, but we noticed you were mic'd up today. Are guys having trouble hearing you through the mask? Is it as simple as that?
Well, it's not the same as if I didn't have a mask on, that's for sure. And it's just hard to project my voice through the mask. It's not as big of a deal at the board or when it's quiet, but when a drill's going on, it's pretty hard to make corrections or give feedback. So we're just trying some different things. I'm not sure it was perfect today, but we'll get better as we go.
I'm wondering if you heard what happened with the Dallas Stars, all the positive tests they're having, the schedule's delayed. Do you use that as kind of a teaching moment to your team about how careful they really need to be?
Yeah, I got a quick update here just on, obviously we were kind of wrapped up in our own business, but certainly it's a reminder to all of us that we got to be careful and try to do everything right, follow the guidelines. And I think so far we've had great buy-in from the players and staff, but it's something that you don't really know how you're doing. No news is good news, but if we do end up having a positive test, we want to try and limit it as much as we can. And so everyone following the rules is going to help us stay healthy and give us a chance. So we got a bunch of guys out. We're not. It's going to be tough to prepare and tough to compete.
Thanks.
We'll go to Ben Pope with the Chicago Sun-Times. Ben, you can go ahead.
Hey, Jeremy. The Carpenter Camp Highmore line. We've seen that for a long time now, and you're sticking with it in camp. What about that? So sort of, just worth keeping together for so long, and what are they showing together?
Yeah, they play a predictable game, and we talk a lot about putting the next line in a better spot and doing the dirty work for the team, and those guys kind of embody that. We want the line that comes after them typically is put in a pretty good position, so we want to try to continue that continuity, and also it's an example to the other lines of if you do these little things, then it helps the team to have success. So the work ethic and just willingness to make team decisions, those things are going to help us be a better team.
And then also, do you have any update on Soderberg's immigration? Do you have any idea yet if he'll be here for the season opener?
I don't have anything firm. We're hopeful, and but at the same time, until we see him and he gets into quarantine, we're going to focus on the group we have.
We'll go now to Scott Powers with The Athletic. Scott, your mic is active. You can go ahead.
Hey, Jeremy, it seemed like Kurashev got a look among those top four lines today. What have you noticed from him in camp so far?
Yeah, I think he's looked good. His pace of his game is improving, and that's the biggest thing to me. The skill and the smarts and all those things, they're there. It's just trying to speed up his RPMs to the level that we need him to be at. So I think he's skating well, and we just want to continue that progression. It may not work right away, but we're happy with how he's improving.
I know Teplay's probably not a guy who makes a team out of camp, but it seems like he's been noticeable today in the scrimmage. What have you seen from him?
Yeah, it was obviously he scored a nice goal, but it's not just today. He's been noticeable, confident with the puck, and skilled enough to make little plays. He's got a really good shot. It's going to be an adjustment to the pro game for him, but there's a lot of good parts of his game that it looks like will transfer. So it's great to have him here and giving him the opportunity to learn sort of what it looks like to be an NHL player.
Thank you.
We'll go now to Phil Thompson with the Chicago Tribune. Phil, your mic's active. You can go ahead.
Thank you, Jeremy. I don't know if anyone asked, but is there any update or more information about Zadorov?
Not at this point, no. Unfit to participate.
Okay, and with Pius, how has he been adjusting to the smaller rink, and is there a particular timeline where it takes those guys to adjust to that?
Yeah, it'll be work in progress maybe all year. He's been over here before, so similar to Kubalik, he's got that experience. He's been to a couple of NHL camps, so that's good. But it's always going to be a little bit of a change. But I think he's looked good. He looks comfortable. The thing, some guys who come over, they play a perimeter game, and so when there's not as much room out there, they find it tough. But that's not the case with Suter. He likes to be inside. He likes to be around the net. So I don't foresee it being a big issue. I mean, it's not going to be perfect right away, but that's expected. And whether we moved him around a little bit, center and wing, and that's part of the package that he brings, and that's part of why we like him, and part of why he might get an opportunity further up the lineup because he is versatile. And but so far we're pleased with what we see.
We're going on to Carter Baum with Blackhawks.com. Carter, your mic's active. You can go ahead.
Jeremy, another wrinkle to the scrimmage today, adding a little special teams work in there. What do you think of just the first look at some of those guys and the different pairings you have together on each side?
Yeah, it was good to get some live action, and we've had some meetings about it over the last few days to sort of introduce some of the things we're looking for. But you want to get reps, and so we'll be working on it. I would expect almost every day, if not every day. Getting ready for the season. So, but I thought we saw some good things both directions.
We'll go to Charlie Romeliotis with NBC Sports Chicago. Charlie, you can go ahead.
Hey, Jeremy, kind of piggybacking off that question. Adam Boqvist has obviously been that top quarterback for the first unit. How much of it is giving him that larger responsibility versus seeing if he can handle it?
Yeah, we think he can handle it. Not too concerned about that. I think he's ready to be in that spot. First unit, second unit, we're trying to build two that are equally dangerous and maybe a little different setup, different feel. I think that group with Bulky, they're trying to have more of a movement power play, some interchanges, different players moving in different positions to create mismatches and passing lanes, whereas the other group probably be more of a shooting power play. But that's I think Bulky fits that better. That like I said, the interchange and the movement, he's pretty dynamic in those ways. So we're excited about what he can bring.
Is it tough not having obviously Kirby and Jonathan, where you have to slot guys into different roles? Maybe Shaw's a net front presence on the second unit, but he's in the slot in the first.
I mean, of course, those guys would likely be part of the picture, but we're excited about the groups we're putting out there. We think they can have success, and I don't really think about what if.
We'll go to John Dietz with the Daily Herald. John, you can go ahead.
Hey, Jeremy. Just curious can we see Brent Seabrook on the ice on the next day or two?
Right now, he's unfit to participate, so we'll let it play out.
Just curious, I went back and listened to just his summer, when he talked to us over the summer for about 20 minutes, and he was really excited to come back. He thought he could be a big part of the team. Was this something that caught you guys a little off guard, that he wasn't going to be able to go?
I mean, as we go through camp, there's always guys with stuff that comes up. So, when he's available to us, we'll see how he looks.
Thanks, Jeremy. Thank you very much, media. We'll talk tomorrow.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Sports Medicine Update, a weekly podcast by yours truly, Jerry Ryle, and, of course, the Honorable Dr. Chad Padroman. Doc, this is our second season, first episode, 2021. It's great to see you. Happy New Year. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Time has flown because we're having fun.
It certainly has flown, and we certainly are having fun, and we hope that many people had an opportunity to see any of the podcasts in the 2020 year. What an incredible year it definitely was, but hopefully we were able to enlighten them, give them a little bit of education and knowledge, and help them out along their ways. The most important thing is the fact that hopefully none of the viewers or listeners sustained any type of injuries, and if they did, not serious injuries, but definitely, hopefully they were able to take something away from the podcast over the 2020 season and apply it to their personal needs and cares. And hopefully everyone is back to 100% and ready to rock and roll in 2021, because I certainly am, Doc.
Yeah, likewise, Jerry.
Sounds good. Well, you know, it's a big weekend, and we're here. I can't believe that we made it, talking about we and making it. The National Football League, first weekend of playoff football. It's a super wild card weekend. 3 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday. The Bears made it. There's a lot going on as far as the National Football League is concerned. I was skeptical. I was one of those individuals out there that did not think that we would make it to the playoffs, let alone halfway through the regular season. But due to the pandemic and due to the protocols and everything that was put in place around the league, we've made it, Doc, and it looks like we're going to have a Super Bowl one way or the other. But first and foremost, reflect on this past season, 17 weeks of football in the National Football League and making it to the playoffs. Your thoughts on making it this far?
Well, Jerry, you were a little skeptical. I was optimistic. I told you we'd make it. We did. And I'll tell you that the pandemic is horrible. It's tragic. Thousands have died. However, the problem is made substantially worse by pessimism. This is a beatable thing. We're beating it. I think the most important thing is not to compound the problems of the virus with problems of unnecessary lockdown. I think what's happened in sports is exactly what should have happened. People power through. When problems come up, they deal with them in an appropriate fashion, and it has succeeded until now, and it will continue to succeed.
Well, you know, let's hope that we get a grasp on it and we can continue to make some progress and get back to some sort of normalcy. I know it's going to take some time as far as the vaccines are concerned, and it's projected that, you know, by spring and the summer, we should be in halfway decent condition. And I say that in a selfish way, and I think I speak for a lot of sports fans out there. We just want to get out to the games. It's great, and I thank the players, the coaches, the front offices, the owners, that we've been able to watch some sports on the weekend. But I think a lot of fans, especially in the state of Illinois, we want to get out to the venue, whether it's the United Center to watch the Bulls and the Blackhawks. Of course, we would love to have been at Soldier Field to watch the Bears. But the Cubs at Wrigley and the Sox at Guaranteed Rate Field, fans just want to get back out there and cheer their teams on, and hopefully we'll get to that point. But as far as football is concerned, and we talked about the playoffs, the Bears, of course, advanced to the playoffs, finishing the regular season with an 8-8 record, but they back into the playoffs, and they have a few players who are banged up, and we'll get an opportunity to talk about that. But there are other teams around the league that have some players that are banged up, and more notably was Jared Goff with the LA Rams, who sustained a thumb injury, and it was questionable if they were going to advance to the playoffs in that last week of the regular season, week 17. But people have had their eyes on the injury to his thumb, and it's been up in the air as far as his availability is concerned. But at this point, as far as this recording of the podcast, it seems as if he will be ready to go and move forward in postseason play. What's your thoughts, and what do you know about Jared Goff and his injured thumb?
Well, it's a very interesting situation, and one of the relatively uncommon examples where a quantum leap has been performed in an area of sports medicine. So I don't know. I can't tell you for sure what he did, but what I think he did was tore the ulnar collateral ligament of his thumb. That's the common injury, sports injury. He had surgery by a Dr. Stephen Shin, S-H-I-N, who's a brilliant doctor, part of the Cedars Sinai, I think Curlin Job Sports Medicine Institute. So here's the story on this. The ulnar collateral ligament tear is the ligament is a tear of the ligament that runs along the inside of the thumb, and you need it to grip things. And you can tear it. It's skiers can tear it on a ski pole, throwers can tear it, other people can tear it. Now, most ligaments, when they tear, they heal on their own. You know, in the knee, for example, the medial collateral ligament usually heals on its own. Most ligaments do, but there are some that don't. The anterior cruciate ligament is one, but they're unusual. Well, the ulnar collateral ligament of the thumb is one. It's a little controversial, but it often, some would say always, but it often needs surgery. But here's the thing. In general, when we repair ligaments, we repair the ligament, we protect the joint with a cast or a splint or decreased activity for a period of months. And even after surgery, it's 3 to 6 months maybe before people, or longer, before people get back. So that had been the case with the ulnar collateral ligament of the thumb until Dr. Shin, and that had been the case until, and I can't tell you when it was, but it was, I would say, within the last 5 years. I sort of became conscious of it, I think, when Drew Brees injured his thumb. But anyway, within 5 years ago, Dr. Shin got the idea to provide what he called an internal brace on the thumb. And so what that means is he would reattach the ligament to where it had torn. But in addition to that, he took a structure, an artificial structure, a piece of tape often usually, and would attach it as well. So basically, that inanimate structure would run along the same course as the ligament and reinforce it. So when you repair a ligament, it's a complex process. The ligament has to remodel. Often the cells die and come back to life, but it takes months for it to gain strength. However, putting a piece of tape, that's how it was written that he used to do it, I'm not sure exactly how he does it now, is something that provides immediate strength, and it can be attached to the bone with a pin or a screw. So replacing a ligament with an inanimate structure is not something that has been successful over the long term. People have tried it with ACLs, for example, and they break down. But if you put it in for short-term protection while the ligament is healing, it has the potential to provide much more immediate return of function. And that's what has happened in that case. So Dr. Shin popularized it. I don't do hand surgery. I don't know how many other people are doing it now, but it's a radical breakthrough because, it's interesting. If you follow Jared Goff, so he got hurt and he tried to, I think he did play with it a little more in that game. And then after the game, or maybe at the end of the game, they said, he can't go. So, so you wonder, well, gee, will he try to play again? Will they try to have him limp through the playoffs? But they didn't. They, wisely, he had surgery pretty immediately. And that's clearly because they were planning surgery to do it more or less as soon as possible to get him back. And that's what seems to be happening. Now, I don't know. I was reading where Dr. Shin wrote, at least at one point, he said that the usual 10 to 12 week rehab can be cut in half. So that'd be 5 to 6 weeks. Well, this hasn't been 5 to 6 weeks with Jared Goff. It's just a couple. But I don't know. When they've asked him, at least from what I've read, whether he's going to play, they've been kind of vague. So, you had said you thought he was coming back. And, I think he might. I'm not sure. There's certainly, you make an incision, certain things have to heal to throw a football. But the fact that it's even in the conversation for someone to suffer, what has been a season-ending injury, and then get back for the playoffs potentially, hopefully this week for them, or if not this weekend they win following week, I think it's pretty amazing. It has really revolutionized the care of that injury.
Well, it's very interesting when you talk about injuries, especially in the National Football League, because you could go anywhere from doubtful to questionable to probable. And part of that is due to the fact that you don't want to give information to your opponents in preparation for the upcoming game. So as far as the media is concerned and the fans are concerned, it's all speculation. And so you're not sure if it's really excuse me, you're not sure if it's really accurate or if you're not sure if it's, being overprotective or what the case may be. But there have been rumblings that he may be available for the playoffs. So as of this broadcast, of this podcast, it still remains to be seen. But again, if he is available to play, based on the information that you provided us, how effective do you think he could be with that injury? Because one, that opponents will be targeting that hand to see if they can some way re-injure it to get him out of it. And is it a concern long term for Jared Goff, not only professionally playing the sport, but to live with this sort of injury?
Yeah, I think long term people have seemed to do well. So I would expect him to do well. Short term, if he can play, how well will he play? Well, I mean, there's kind of three parameters. The one is the ligament. The ligament will be of no structural use, but that doesn't really matter. We know that. Then there's the tape. The tape should be as strong as it's going to get immediately at the end of surgery. So where the ligament needs healing time, the tape doesn't. In fact, it's the reverse timeline. The ligament gets stronger with post-operative convalescence. The tape, if anything, would tend to get weaker because the more mechanical stress you put on an inanimate structure, eventually it loosens. Now, in an ideal world, the ligament heals, and I think this is what usually happens. The ligament heals, stabilize the joint, so the tape never does loosen because the stresses that are on it initially dissipate once the ligament heals. So I think the joint structurally is probably fine. But then you're left with, how about the other aspects of the area? So you have to make an incision, decent sized incision, I think, in that area. So then you close the incision and you put in sutures, or there's different kinds of glue or other ways you can close it. And then you've got the tissue below the skin and above the ligament, the muscle and such. So, those structures below the skin get inflamed. Now, muscles aren't cut, so they should be functional. Obviously, they get inflamed just from being surgically manipulated. And then, you worry about the skin, because gripping a football and throwing it puts a lot of, friction on the skin. I don't exactly know. You can cover it with, like I said, there's glue-like substances. You can wear a glove. So, coming back this quickly, I think would be an amazing testament to both Dr. Shin and to Jared Goff. And if they don't, there's no, it wouldn't be surprising. There's no shame in that. It isn't as though he should be back, and what if he isn't? He's had a delay. It would be amazing if he came back. But I don't see any inherent reason why. I mean, the joint should be stable. I don't see any inherent reason why he couldn't, unless, it's possible that every throw he just rips the skin open, I guess. And I don't know about that. But and I don't know if he'll play. But it's possible. It's definitely possible. it's the most common thumb injury, but it may well be, because that ligament is kind of the weak link. The thumb kind of sticks out from the side of the hand, and I don't know what he had. Jay Cutler, you may recall, that what a shame, that season when they got off to that great start, and he threw a pick, and he tackled or tried to tackle the person who ran it back, and tore up his thumb, and he couldn't come back. And I think it was Caleb Haney, I can't remember, was the backup, and they couldn't win a game, and they just missed the playoffs. What a shame. And and Rajon Rondo, similar thing. The Bulls were killing it in the postseason. Remember, was it up 2-0 on the Celtics? I can't remember when he was there with D Wade and Jimmy Butler, and he hurt his thumb, and they lost. And again, I'm not sure if it was the same thumb injury, but it's a pretty common one. So, they're out there in high profile situations.
Yeah. And that's why I was asking if this is something that's new or common, because you brought it up regarding Tommy John. And I can remember we discussed this in our previous podcast over the past year. Tommy John surgery. You didn't hear much about that when we were kids growing up, but over time, it became almost like a norm as far as pitchers rehabilitating and taking care of themselves. So I was wondering if, with the procedure and the practice that took place with Dr. Shin, is this something that is going to become more common, I guess, to not only professional athletes as far as the surgery is concerned, but maybe to the layperson as well, who may be that.
Oh, I think so. Warrior. Yeah, and again, I don't really see hand trauma patients, so I'm not. Orthopedics is very specialized, right? I do knee and shoulder surgery, and so and there's people that do foot and ankle and hand and one thing and another. But no, I think it is, and my understanding is, at least from what I had read, so there are things, there's risks and benefits. So this has a definite benefit for anybody. You don't have to be a football player. You could be a tradesperson, anybody, where you'd like to get your hand back sooner. So the question is, do you lose anything? Is there any downside? And at least, from what I had read, I don't think there is. I don't think there isn't, for example, an increased infection rate, or sometimes when you put artificial substances in, you have to take them out more often. So I don't think there's any downside. And there's a clear upside, no matter who you are, in cutting the rehab time, as Dr. Shin had originally written, from 12 weeks to 6 weeks, and who knows, maybe it's even 2 or 3 weeks by now. Right. So there's a clear upside. The one thing that occurs in cases like this is you have to know how to do it. There are what we call learning curves, right? And so I don't know how hard the procedure is to do. I don't know how hard it is to learn. So I don't really know to what extent. What tends to happen in cases like this is that it starts out as something sort of exotic that just a few people do. And then with time, kind of everybody does it. So I know he's not the only one, at least I think he's not the only one doing it anymore. But whether, it's 5% or 50% or 90% of the hand surgeons do this now, I'm not sure. But I think it is part of the mainstream already.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's good to know. And it's good to know that there's something that an athlete, again, whether they're professional or amateur athletes, if they sustain an injury such as this, that there's something that they can do about it, and hopefully a quick recovery as opposed to a long, drawn-out process. I want to get, we're talking about the playoffs with Dr. Chad Padomis, season 2 of the Sports Medicine Weekly Update. As of this podcast, we're heading into the NFL playoff super wild card weekend, and the Bears, of course, advanced to the playoffs, as we stated in the opening of this podcast, and they'll be taking on the New Orleans Saints on Sunday afternoon. But they have a few players who are down, and again, as far as teams are concerned, they don't want to show their hand to their opposition, so players are listed either from anywhere from probable to questionable to doubtful. And one player who has been out for a couple of weeks, at least as far as the regular season is concerned, is a rookie cornerback for the Chicago Bears, Jalen Johnson, and we've discussed him in the past, and I think you and I both love what he brings to the defensive side of the football, but we were somewhat skeptical, and the red flag came up when he was drafted, and it was revealed that he had three surgeries, shoulder surgeries on both shoulders in 4 years. And unfortunately, he's injured his shoulder again, and he's out, and he's one of the players who is questionable for this playoff game. Can you elaborate and get us up to speed as far as the injuries? And is this something that may be lingering throughout his professional career playing in the National Football League?
Yeah, and again, they have not said, as best I can tell, exactly what it is. And, why should they, as you say? I do believe. So, again, we talked about this at some length, as you mentioned several weeks ago, and the terminology is confusing. So it was, well, I can't remember now if it was Anthony Miller or not, but there was someone on the Bears who was listed as having a labrum tear and had surgery, but had clearly had dislocations. So here's the thing. Jalen Johnson had dislocated shoulders, and he had 3 operations on the 2 shoulders. And what we had talked about before is that this surgery, of all the relatively common sports medicine operations, and it's relatively common, it has probably the highest failure rate. And there are great surgeons doing great work. It's just, it's just the state of the art. The operation just fails more often than others. And do most of them fail? No, but it's pretty significant. So, we had seen examples of it on the Bears and elsewhere, and where, you have it done and then you have to have it done again. So we worried. So he definitely, or at least I think definitely from what I read, had dislocated shoulders to begin with. So the question is, did he have a recurrent dislocation now, and they're waiting for it to quiet down, or something else? There are other things that you can have, falling on the shoulder and getting an AC sprain of it. So I don't know. One would suspect it might be a recurrent dislocation. And then if it is, the question comes up, what do you do with that? So if it has recurred, it'll definitely need surgery. But is it urgent surgery? It won't be a Jared Goff thumb situation. If you fix it, you're down for 6 months, maybe longer, 4 months, but months for sure. So, it isn't like as soon as it happened that let's hurry up and fixing it back for the playoffs. That's not going to happen. So, I don't know if it is a recurrently dislocating shoulder, and he hasn't had surgery yet because there's really not much reason to wait. One wonders if they were waiting to see if he could play, and you can play. And Anthony Miller did, the first year his shoulder dislocated. It doesn't always come out, and he would. I don't remember the exact game, but they didn't treat it surgically initially, and then he tried to finish out the season, and it popped out once or twice, and the shoulder would hurt. But it doesn't. We don't think do long-lasting damage. So if it is a recurrent dislocation, and he hasn't had surgery for it, it might mean that they might want to get him back out there and see what happens. What happens is, if it is that, the shoulder is stable if your arm is at your side. And I mentioned a few weeks ago, we treat linemen sometimes with a brace around their waist and a chain that goes to another brace around the arms to kind of hold it down. So, if you don't extend your arm, maybe you're okay. Now, does the defensive back need to extend their arm? Well, yeah, because you're defending passes and things like that. So they may decide that Jalen Johnson, on 1.5 arms, is better than the backups Kindle Viter. I don't know if that's not his name, but the rookie cornerback. Because I think there's been some thoughts that they've had some issues there, or Buster Screen. So, maybe they were waiting to see how things happened, and if they thought they needed them, they try to get them back and tell them to try to protect that arm, reach with the other arm, and if it goes out, then take them out. Or it could be something entirely different. I don't know that it's a recurrent dislocation. If you fall on it, you can get, it's called an AC separation or sprain, and it hurts a lot, but the pain goes down, and structurally you can usually play. There's another problem called a labrum tear in the shoulder, and it could be that. So I don't want to get too much into the weeds here, but I'd mentioned that I think it was Anthony Miller, one of the Bears. They said he had a labrum tear, which was probably true, but the labrum tear was accompanied by a dislocation. And The labrum is a circumferential structure that lines the socket of the shoulder, and you can think of it as being torn like the face of a clock. So for a right shoulder, a labrum tear with a dislocation tears between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock. So, but the main issue is the dislocation. Now, if you tear the labrum between 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock, that is in the superior part, it has an acronym called a slap lesion. So those, and they're complicated, but many of them need surgery, but a lot of them don't. And with that, if he has that, it isn't something where he'd have to restrict his motion. He could reach and do what he wanted. It'd just be a question of, if it hurt too much. So again, it's just, it's just speculation what it is, and they're smart, right? And not saying what it is. And I guess we'll figure it out, after the season, see if he goes, if he doesn't go, and if he has surgery afterwards. And at some point, they'll probably say what it is. But, they're all things that are traumatic. So they all occur reasonably commonly in young athletes. So I don't know. Hopefully he's better. Hopefully he goes out and helps them win.
Yeah, hopefully he is better. I got to ask you before we say goodbye, and thank you again, Dr. Champ, for joining us. You called it what type of lesion? Slab lesion?
Yeah, it's an acronym. It's developed by it stands for
right here?
It's at the top of the shoulder, so right up here. You usually feel it in the back.
Right.
It stands for, but except it's deep inside. You can't. It isn't tender to the touch. It stands for superior labrum, anterior and posterior.
Right.
It was coined by the guy who discovered it, who's a fantastic surgeon named Stephen Snyder. The shout out to Southern California at SCOE, Southern California Orthopedic Institute. He has a knack for acronyms. There's another one. It's a rotator cuff tear that he called a pasta tear, and I won't tell you what it stands for. It's but anyway, it's slap lesion, and it's fairly common, so it could be that.
So it's interesting I ask you that because I have an issue. And the doctor called it a slap tear.
Oh, really?
SLAP, correct?
AP? I'm sorry.
SLAP.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he said, because I had issues with my shoulder.
Yeah.
And I had the MRI and everything done, and that's what he diagnosed it as. And
Jared, let me ask you, when you had the MRI, did they inject dye into your shoulder or just take a conventional MRI?
No, I believe they injected the dye in there as well to take a look.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's fine. And that's what they were diagnosed, and I hadn't heard it before. And he told me, you can live with it and it's fine, but we can also repair it. And the reason I was reluctant to do any surgery or anything on it, not for the fact of the surgery, because that appeared to be a simple procedure, it's the fact that the downtime that you talked about would lay you up in a sling or whatever for more or less 6 months or so to recover. And I just simply couldn't afford to take that amount of time.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, since you bring it up, so this is something an area I do a lot of work in. In fact, I was asked to edit a journal about it, wrote our clinical series about it, and we do them and have had very good success. It's actually fairly controversial. So I'll tell you, actually, I just saw someone today with it. They don't all need surgery. We do PRP, platelet-rich plasma injections for them as a first. We do physical therapy and PRP. And so first of all, it isn't just a superior labrum tear. The ones that need surgery, it has to be the superior labrum. You need an MRI arthrogram to diagnose it, and it needs to go through something called the biceps anchor. So, a long discussion a couple hours ago with a patient about this. So most slap lesions do not fit those criteria. Most of them don't need surgery. But even the ones that do fit the criteria, in my world, it needs to be through this biceps anchor, proper criteria, and an MRI arthrogram. You need a traumatic event. This is not an overuse problem. You need pain sort of in the back of the shoulder. And then you need to fail physical therapy and fail a PRP injection. If you do all of those things, I operate on them. So I don't really do very many. And it's interesting, Dr. Snyder has written about this and said at meetings, he said, guys, don't be so quick to operate on these. Because most of them, the things that superficially seem to be that aren't. But the other side of it is, the surgery has kind of a bad reputation because there are a lot of complications. So much so that the standard, you mentioned it's a simple thing. Well, the standard thing to do is to put in an anchor and then tack it down. And that's what I do. And that is fairly simple. But it has a reputation of having a high complication rate with stiffness. So much so that it is kind of standard, depends on your algorithm for people over 40, to not try to fix it at all, but to cut the biceps tendon and tack it down to take stress off it. That's something I don't do. You know, I fix them when they need fixing, and if you're careful who you do it on, I think results can be good. But it's a controversial area for sure, both because it's difficult to diagnose and because the treatment, you see, it's something that's sort of loose that you're tightening or detached that you're tightening. And it can be difficult to tell if it really needs it. And if you tighten one that didn't need it to begin with, you can over tighten it. So you can really cause stiffness. So it's tricky, bottom line. But physical therapy and PRP take care of a lot of them in my experience.
Wow. Well, thank you so very much, Doc. And over time, I just live with it, and it's gotten some improvement. I do exercises, get a rub down every now and then, and it's certainly not as bad as it was a few years ago. So I've been able to deal with it and handle it and live a normal life. Hey, Doc, it's a pleasure. It's an opportunity, and great to talk with you in this 2021 year, and looking forward to some more exciting information, and hopefully we can help some folks out along the way, whether they're the weekend warriors or certainly want to get back out there on the golf course. But if people are out there rollerblading, tennis playing, or whatever the case may be, hiking, we want them to be safe and sound. But if they can always use some help or some guidance or some recovery processes, how do they get a hold of you, Dr. Capadromas?
I just called our number. It's 847-699-6810. We've got a great staff, and happy to help any way we can.
Sounds good, and you do a fantastic job. I can say that personally for sure. Doc, it's a pleasure. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the NFL games, and go Ohio State Buckeyes taking on the Alabama Crimson Tide in the national championship, my good friend.
Yeah, it should be a great game. Thank you, Jerry. You too. You will.
Dr. Capadromas, Sports Medicine, weekly updates of podcast. Yours truly, Jerry Riles. Talk with you all next week. Take care, everybody.
It's the freshest radio show in town. Feeling marvelous, I've been with Jerry Rouse. It's the freshest radio show in town. Feeling marvelous, I've been with Jerry Rouse. WCPT. WCPT.
This the coldest sports show. You were getting the hour from 6 p.m. to 7. Chillin' with Lauren Cox and the man Marvelous. Shout out to Mr. Rouse and the Italian style. You what sports is the only politic.
WCPT. WCPT. It's the freshest radio show in town. Feeling marvelous, I've been with Jerry Rouse. It's the freshest radio show in town. Feeling marvelous, I've been with Jerry Rouse.
All right, all of you out there watching the Bears-Packer rivalry taking place over at Soldier Field. The Bears are trailing 21-16. Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Rewind Sports 60. We're streaming live on Facebook Live, broadcasting from the illustrious studios of WCPT 820 AM in the beautiful, beautiful city of Chicago, in the great neighborhood of Jefferson Park. Ladies and gentlemen, this is another edition of the Rewind Sports 60, the fastest hour in sports conversation. Yours truly, Jerry Riles. And, of course, ladies and gentlemen, you love him. He's not over at Wrigley. He's not over at USL. Is it? Guaranteed rate field. He's not over at the United Center. He's not up in Lambeau Field or Soldier Field. Ladies and gentlemen, he's in studio. He's known as the Marvelous. He is Dan Marver. What's up, Marvelous? How are you?
Hey, how you doing, Jerry? You know, this is such a fast show. It isn't even 6 o'clock yet. But you know what? I become a Rams fan. Forget about the 18-7, the Rams are leading, so the Bears get in the playoffs either way.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be New Orleans or Seattle that they play, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. We'll certainly get an opportunity to talk deeply as far as the Bears' opportunity to advance in the playoffs, to keep their 2020 season alive, despite the 6-game losing streak, despite the fact that the Green Bay Packers owns them, and despite the fact that Matt Nagy handed over his playbook to Bill Lazor, and of course, Ryan Pace still believes he's the best GM in the National Football League. We'll still get an opportunity to talk some Bear football, some playoff football, and of course, we're going to be joined by some fabulous former Chicago Bear football players in studio and on our TR60 hotline, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, you love him, number 51 in your playbook. He's number 1 in our hearts. Later on, we're going to have an opportunity to talk with the great number. There you go. Yeah, the great number 51. No, not Dick Buckus. Bruce Herron will be on our TR60 hotline. And, of course, we haven't talked with him in quite some time since the pandemic, but he is expected to be in studio with us, ladies and gentlemen. The 17th letter of the alphabet. You love him. We call him Q-Dog. Quentin Demps will be in studio to help break down this Bears-Packer game. And, of course, double nickel. Played with the most dominant defense that ever laced him up in the National Football League. Number 55, Otis Mama Boy Wilson will be joining us as well. So we got a trifecta as far as former Chicago Bear players are concerned to talk about the current Chicago Bears. Marvelous.
Yeah, that's great. You know, the Bears' offense, as usual, is not outstanding. They're gaining, five yards a play, but because I'm a big fan of Wayne Larrivee, I'm listening to the game on the Packers Network, and they're thinking that it's a game plan, that they're trying to do ball control to keep Rodgers off the field.
Yes, I mean, you have to try it that way.
I know.
I mean, it's game plan, it's game strategy, because the Bears at one point, halfway through the fourth quarter, they had run 53 plays, but the Packers had only run 26 plays. The Bears had dominated in time of possession with over like 28.
31-19 right now.
Unbelievable, but that's the game plan you need as far as trying to strategize against the best in the business. That, of course, Aaron Rodgers tried to keep him off the football field. Unfortunately, the Packers, when they get on the football field, they score. The Bears, when they have the football, even though they're trying to eat up all the clock, unfortunately, when they get in the red zone, and thank goodness we have Cairo Santos, the best kicker the Bears have ever had. He set the new mark, 27 straight field goals.
Yeah, 3 more.
They cannot when they get in the red zone, they cannot score. So we have to rely on the foot of Cairo Santos.
Yeah. Well, the Green Bay scored 3 times. We scored 4 times. Unfortunately, 3 of them were by field goals.
Yeah, and you know what? It could be a lot worse. It could be a lot uglier, because if you recall, early in the first half, David Montgomery went down with a knee injury, and we thought that was pretty much it. I don't know if the knee was hyperextended. I don't know, but the point of the matter is that right knee got crunched, and he went to the sidelines.
He came back, and he's been doing okay.
Yeah, he has.
One of the big turning points was the Komet fumble. That's really the difference in the game right now.
Yeah, it's a very big difference, and I felt for the homegrown product.
I thought he might have landed on his buttocks before.
That was the dilemma there. Did his buttocks hit the turf before the ball was stripped from him? And with technology today, the way the game is designed, instant replay showed that the ball was coming out, being dislodged by the Green Bay Packers defense before his buttocks hit the ground, and of course caused the turnover, and of course the Green Bay Packers go in to get the score. And Aaron Rodgers is doing exactly what Aaron Rodgers does, and he is dissecting the Bears defense. And it's interesting to see. I don't know about you, but it's interesting to see after the Bears had the opening drive and they get into the end zone and they get the points to get the ball rolling, Aaron Rodgers comes off the sideline just methodically, orchestrates and gets his football team down the field. Of course, they scored. They tied it up 7-7. But Marvelous, I don't know about you watching it. I know you were listening to the great Wayne Larrivee and the Green Bay Packer broadcast on the radio dial, but when I was watching this game, I'm looking at Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, and I'm telling you, every time you go to the sideline, he goes, "Hey, that's it. He goes, man, this is more like practice than a real game.
I mean, the start could have been devastating, where Patterson's looked like he stepped out of the 1 yard line, but then they went down and scored. You know, it took half 7.5. They did half the quarter, 7.5 minutes to score a touchdown, and Green Bay did the same thing.
Yeah.
So they were like 2 possessions in the first quarter. It was amazing.
Exactly, it was amazing. I think the Bears had something of 14 or 15 plays in a 60-yard drive, and of course the Green Bay Packers had about 12 or 13 plays on their drive, and you're absolutely right. Each team with a possession in the first quarter and tied up. So it was very, very interesting to see. But we want everyone, if you're watching a football game, and it's late in the fourth quarter of action, and the Green Bay Packers are driving, we got an early start here at WCPT 820 AM, the Rewind Sports 60, and we are watching the game as well. So we want you to keep the volume down on your television monitors or whatever devices you may be watching a football game, the computer, your smartphone, or whatever the case may be, and keep it turned up at 8:20 a.m. 8:20 a.m. And there he is, ladies and gentlemen. Known as the 17th letter in the alphabet, Quentin Dempsey is in the house. Hey, Quentin, can you suit up, man, and we can get you?
Nah, what's the score?
We can get you in the game, man. Quentin Dempsey is in the house, in the studios. WCPT 8:20 a.m., brother. It's good to see you, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Yeah, it's so, but if you're watching the game, you can keep it turned on your monitors, your smartphone, your computers, or whatever the case may be. The Green Bay Packers just scored, and they're pending the PAT. They lead our Chicago Bears with 3:47 to go in the contest, 28-16. But we want you to be a part of the fastest hour in sports conversation. That, of course, the Rewind Sports 60 on WCPT 820 AM. Our number here is 773-763-9278. 773-763 WCPT. For all your Bears post-game comments, come on right here and join us. Yours truly, Jerry Riles, the marvelous one, Dan Marver, in studio, ladies and gentlemen. We love him, we miss him. Known as the 17th letter in the alphabet, Quentin Dempsey's in the house. What's up, man? How are you?
What's up, man? I'm doing amazing. I'm good, Jay. I'm good.
It's good to see you, man.
Yeah, you too, man.
Man, I want to give you a big hug, but we can't do it.
6 feet. 6 feet.
Maybe next year.
Hey, I want to do like that. Is it the Geico commercial where the dude is in his apartment, and who is it? Harrison.
Geico.
And he run around. I want to go run and tackle you, man. I want to tackle you. How's everything going, bro?
Man, everything's all right, man. Everything is everything, man. Staying healthy.
Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, likewise, man. Both of you guys, man. Happy New Year.
I'm glad you're safe and sound.
Yeah, for real. I'm good. I've been good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, man. We certainly missed you.
Yeah.
And we weathered the storm. We weathered 2020, man. And we've been coming in.
Yeah.
Masking up.
Yeah, y'all been going.
Distancing everything, man.
Y'all been going, man.
Yeah. So it's good to see you. We certainly missed you, man. But you know what? It's a grind, and it's Chicago, and you just got to keep plowing.
Yeah.
You got to keep going.
Windy City, baby. You gotta have
Windy City, Chicago. It's the city that works.
Yeah.
It's the city that works against you sometimes. No, I'm just kidding. And I want to say Happy New Year to the entire staff of Mayor Lori Lightfoot. You guys have had an incredible 2020, not only along with the rest of us here in this great city we call Chicago, but the fact that you had to, it's your first year as administration taking over, some big, heavy issues and some hurdles to clear, no question about it. But of course, faced with the pandemic that hit us back in March, and then of course with the crime accelerating the way that it's been going. I mean, Mayor Lori Lightfoot, and of course the recent tape they'd come out with the young lady, that was very disappointing, very sad as well. But all in all, you know what? There are a lot of people who supported Mayor Lori Lightfoot, and they're like, hey, we're second-guessing ourselves. Maybe we made a wrong decision. Maybe we made a wrong choice. The woman's only been in office for a year. She's only been in office for a year, and she's been hit with a tremendous deficit as far as the city is concerned, the state is concerned. She's been hit with the pandemic. She's been hit with this crime. She's been hit with everything left and right. And you're saying, you know what, maybe we made a wrong choice? Are you nuts? Are you crazy? Are you ridiculous? If you're a lifelong Chicagoan, you know politics here in the city, the great city of Chicago, and I love it. Going back to the old man, Mayor Daley, back in the day, let me tell you something. This woman, she is busting her tail. And she represents Chicago more than anybody, and her heart and soul is in this city. And what she needs for all of us to do, I don't care whether you disagree with her, because, well, the point of the matter is, You Chicago, you love this city. Roll up your freaking sleeves and let's get to work. Let's get to work.
Yeah.
And the one thing I'm tired of, and I didn't even try to do this, man, but the one thing I'm tired of is all this freaking crime that's going on the south side and the west side. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. My buddy just died. May he rest in peace. Johnny Marsh. He, a lifelong friend. We grew up together on the south side in the Beverly area. He succumbed to some injuries from a paintball, the paintball shooting over on 118th and Michigan Avenue. The dude thought he got shot. He got hit with paintballs. He evidently succumbed to those injuries based on cracked ribs and a collapsed lung.
Wow.
2 weeks later, he passed from that. Because of some senseless BS that's going on. We have the retired firefighter who's just died because of the carjacking situation. Cut the crap out, man. Cut it out. And all you mamas, I'm going to say you mamas, because your daddies, half of y'all out there doing the same thing that your young punks are out there doing. But the mothers, hey, listen, you guys, you know what your kid is doing. You know what your kid is doing. Grab them in the freaking collar, kick them in the ass, and tell them to sit down and read a freaking book. Cut out all this crap. Yeah, everybody want to jump on with Lori Lightfoot and say, yeah, I think I made a bad decision. Half of you aldermen, you wouldn't be able to do the job that she's been able to do. So you need to roll up your sleeves as aldermen around this city and support the woman and clean up your areas, clean up your neighborhood, and do something positive to make this city the greatest city that I certainly know it is. So I'm off my soapbox now. Let's go to the Bears, Quentin Dance.
Bears, man.
Dude, we've got a lot to catch up on, man. I mean, this is the biggest rivalry. Marvelous. Is this the 202nd meeting between these two teams?
It seems like the 1,000th, but you're probably right.
But, I mean, hey, Q.
It seemed like 1,000 for real.
Yeah, it certainly does. Q. I mean, you know, a lot of these guys on this team have obviously played in the National Football League for 10 years, 5 with the beloved Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
What's your assessment of the 2020 season from the 5-1 start to the 6-game losing streak, and now looks like the Bears still have an opportunity. No, they're going to get in the playoffs because the Arizona Cardinals.
Oh, so they in?
The Rams are going to beat the Arizona Cardinals.
So the Bears are still in.
The Bears will still get in, man.
So it's just been a roller coaster, man. Like you said, starting off 5-1 and then losing 6 straight. And then starting with Mitchell and then going to Nick Foles and then back to Mitchell. So it's like a roller coaster, man. Yeah. But man, they still in though. Wow. Yeah. I didn't even know that.
Kyler Murray went out with an ankle.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he went out with an ankle. All right. I took Arizona on my confidence pool. This is the worst. This is the worst I've done this year. I'm on COVID, man. I'm like in 79th place out of 85 people.
Wow.
And I haven't won 1 week.
You should have called me, man. You should have called me.
Q. 17 weeks I didn't win one. I've been playing this for almost 20 years, and I've always made my money back at least.
Yeah.
And I've won a couple times, a couple years of overall pot. This is the worst year I've ever had, man.
Yeah. Hey, so who the Bears gonna play though?
New Orleans or Seattle, it appears.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, former player.
Yeah.
Watching this team.
Yeah.
Seeing what's happening with the quarterback situation.
Yeah.
Is this something? Now, I'm looking at this as the glass half empty.
Okay.
There are people who look at it as the glass half full.
Yeah.
Your assessment, the Bears make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. They backdoor it in. Is this a team that is on the rise? Mm-hmm. Or is this a team that you got to start thinking rebuild?
I think it's still to be determined. I think it depends on how this playoff run goes.
Really?
Say they win 2 games in the playoffs. And it's a team on the rise. But if they come out and make it out of the first round, we're losing the first round, then that's, they tanking. But I think it's still to be determined, honestly, because like I said, man, anything happens in the playoffs. Anything happens in the playoffs. And so when you get in, anybody got a chance to make a Super Bowl. Yeah, so it's like we don't know. We're going to see.
Yeah, I think it's a little weird this year is the number 4 seed is going to have a losing record. It's going to be either the Giants or Washington. So that might be easy pickings for Tampa in the first round.
Right.
But the Bears are going to get a much tougher opponent.
Yeah. Saints or the Seahawks.
Yeah, that's what it looks like because the Packers will be number 1. Mm. And we're going to get the 2 seed. So
hopefully it's the Saints so they won't have to travel so far.
What difference does that make, though?
Traveling plays a big factor into it. I mean, I know the crowd's not there, but going to Seattle from Chicago is farther than going to New Orleans.
Yeah, I get that. But
then the time difference, the jet lag, it plays a difference.
But Q,
I'm trying to give them all they got, man. They need sympathy. We need empathy.
It's the team that they're gonna play.
Yeah. No, it ain't the team. Hey, Q, it's where they gonna play them at.
I bet you. if the Bears had to travel to Grant Park,
Yeah.
which is right next to Soldier Field, if they had to travel to Grant Park to play Seattle or the Saints, I
Yeah.
bet you the Bears will lose still.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Let's go, Mitchell. Let's go, Trubisky.
Speaking of Mitchell Trubisky and the Green Bay Packers again, they're racking it up now, 35-26. It seems like I'm in the casino where the numbers just keep rolling off.
Racking it up.
Your thoughts on Mitchell Trubisky? The Bears, of course, at the start of the season did not give him the option year to pick up that 5th-year option. And the speculation right now, Mitchell Trubisky, from the way it looks, will be coming back as the Bears quarterback.
Right now?
Well, the way that it's being projected, that they believe that the front office is going to bring Mitchell Trubisky back, franchise tag him.
Okay. Because he earned that with these last few games.
Did he earn it?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so.
Go ahead.
I just think he'll back up.
I mean, it's funny. His overall record will be 6-3. This, after he was 6-2 coming into this,
right?
So that's amazing.
So you think is he a NFL backup on any club or
he's NFL backup on any club.
Why do you say that?
Because you look at Chase Daniels, he's stealing money. I mean, because he has potential. Like he can. I think maybe in the right offense, he probably excel more. Honestly. Maybe this ain't the offense for him. Maybe he needs like a change of scenery. So,
but the problem is we have to get a number one.
I think Nick Foles won, right?
Yeah, well, maybe. I'm not sure about that either.
What's wrong with Nick?
I don't know. He doesn't seem to have a complete season either. A lot of times.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird.
No, as a teammate, how would you size this up? I mean, the defense even. I think they took a step back with Chuck Pagano.
Yeah.
I think this defense, they kind of.
They're not playing as dominant as they usually play, right?
That's what I was about to say.
It's not
it's
enough,
like they don't have as much heart as they had under Vic Fangio.
Yeah, exactly. I can see that too. I can see that too.
With Vic Fangio, it's like the defense would tear down the wall.
That's true.
But with Chuck Pagano, they're like, well, we probably just knock on the door and open it.
You know what? That's a personality thing too, because Vic is kind of like gritty. Where Chuck is kind of like passive and kind of chill, more softer.
Right.
So it's like I could play a factor for real.
So let me, and that's the way I think.
Yeah,
that's the way I think, because I think any team situation, the players, they kind of reflect the mentality exactly. And help me out with this one, because you played at the highest level.
Yeah.
And you played with the greatest franchise of all time, despite the fact we don't ever show it every year. But dude. Vic Fangio, the first week, the first meeting between the Packers and the Bears, they had to go up to Lambeau.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you heard the the pregame during the week, the pressers during the week, but Vic Fangio said, I'm actually scared to go up to Lambeau to face this team. He said this in his press conference during the week leading up to it.
Yeah.
And for me,
you mean Chuck? Chuck said that.
Who did I say?
You said Vic said it.
Vic.
No, I'm sorry. Chuck Pagano.
Vic ain't saying that.
Yeah. Chuck Pagano said, I'm afraid to go up to Lambeau.
Wow.
During the press conference, his weekly presser.
What?
And that's what I said. I said, why would you say that so your players can hear and the Green Bay Packers can put bulletin board material? They got their asses kicked when they went up there. But he said, I'm afraid to go up there to close out his press conference. And I said, why would you say that? Because you're sending a negative message to your troop.
Your team, yeah. I don't want to hear that from my coach.
So the question I want to ask you, though, is, we know with Vic, and God bless him, he's overcome so much physically and personal in his personal life. He battled leukemia, and he overcame it. And I'm sure he sees life in a different manner. Do you think that affected his judgment or his intensity?
You're talking about Chuck.
Yeah. Chuck Pagano.
Right.
See, I'm a big fan of you in my mind. But Chuck Pagano, do you think that affected his drive and his grit and his perspective on the game, having battled and overcome? So, and that's a trick.
No, he's been coaching for a long time. I think he is who he is. I think if anything, that made him more, grateful for life. But I don't think it had anything to do with how he approaches football. You know what I'm saying? Maybe like more, I don't know. I mean, more grace or like more, I don't know. I wouldn't say that.
I guess that's the point I'm trying to get. He's a little bit more humbled.
Yeah.
He's a little bit more
right. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, and like Vic Fangio would say, "Aren't you son of a?" Or Buddy Ryan, "You mother." Get your right.
Yeah.
Chuck Pagano may approach it now like, "Hey guys, listen. We got to get out there and play.
Yeah.
You see, you want the same results, but it's a different way of
approaching it,
giving your message to these guys. And most people are going to react to a guy that's yelling at him, "You cock, right?" As opposed to,
it depends,
hey,
though.
Listen.
It depends.
Okay, help
me. It depends. Like I played for Wade Phillips for a long time, and he was so soft and passive, but he had a way of like getting the best out of us by like giving us bones, like throwing us bones, like y'all go home early, or we won't do this kind of stuff forever. Like, but I trust y'all to be ready. You know what I'm saying? That kind of stuff. So it just depends on like the, just the approach, the ins and outs of it, really.
Right.
Because personality plays a part. Because sometimes it can backfire you too. The guy who's yelling at you all the time. It's like, man, looking, man, hey, I'm a grown man too. You better relax. So it just depends, man. Like it's different. Like it's I can't really pinpoint that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's right. I mean, a college coach has to even look at Fitzgerald. He's blocking the players as they come off the bus. I mean, to get them all charged up. It's different for professional because they're being grown men and all. You don't want to treat them like infants or anything. So there's a fine line.
It's a fine line. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. So but don't you think that you need a good cop, bad cop?
You gotta have a fine line. You gotta have like somebody in there gotta let you know that we're passionate about it too, and y'all need to tighten up for sure.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you see,
that's on the players though.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, like if you know your coach ain't like that, somebody got to step up and be like that.
So that's what I was getting at. When do the players, and you and I talked about this, and you were on with us early on before Thanksgiving, and we were talking about identity for this team, and you said by Thanksgiving, they should know their identity.
Yeah.
And of course, by that time, David Montgomery was the identity of the offense because they finally started to run the rock. But as a defensive player, watching just like all of us, what happened with this football team, especially during a 6-game losing streak.
Yeah.
How would you have handled, or how do you think it would be handled from a defensive perspective, busting your ass and doing everything you can, watching on the offensive side of the ball, things go to the
That's like the most frustrating thing ever. Like, especially when we playing our butts off and like we just had a 3-and-out, it's an interception. It's like, my God. So that can really take a toll on you. Like if it's happening game after game, it's like, okay, guys, this is insane. All we can do is come out there and do our best. They're going to end up scoring on us because they got so many opportunities. So it's kind of frustrating, man, for real. And it's like nothing you can do about it, honestly. You know what I'm saying? Like they got to hold their part.
You being a former player, how did you handle watching the 6-game losing streak?
Just shaking my head. just shaking my head, man. Like, man, I wish I can go talk to him.
What would you have said to him if you could?
Like, I just had some questions. Like, what's going on? Like, what are y'all hungry? Or like, what y'all laying down right now? Or what? We got a whole season left. Like,
you guys tired?
Like, is it COVID getting everybody? Yeah, that's the thing too. That we got to get a whole league love for that, man. For getting through, like, for entertaining us through this crap, man. Because I already know that's a struggle on the guys, man. I couldn't imagine waking up every day getting tested. Like, man, come on, man.
But see, here's the deal, though. Here's the scary part about it.
Yeah.
Because the Bears are going to back into the playoffs. They're losing. The Arizona Cardinals are losing to the LA Rams.
It's over.
18,
it's official.
It's
we're
official.
at 18-7 Rams.
18-7. The Rams defeat the Arizona Cardinals. The Bears back into the playoffs. They'll get either the New Orleans Saints or the Seattle Seahawks next week. For the is it next week the bye week?
Saturday and Sunday,
Wild card
the Packers will be off, Chiefs will be off.
But see, here's the deal. Here's the deal. What many people are kind of concerned with and questionable. During that 6-game losing streak, Chicago was calling for the heads of Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace, Ted Phillips, Mitchell Trubisky. They wanted to clean house and get them all out.
So did we.
So did we. But of course, with the turnaround of the 3-game win streak. And getting into the playoffs, those guys that I just mentioned, they're going to go up to George McCaskey and Virginia McCaskey up there at Hallis Hall and say, hey, listen, despite the 6-game losing streak, we started 5-1.
Yeah.
Just everything I said to you earlier. We still got into the playoffs. Yeah, but you backed in. It doesn't matter. We got into the playoffs. We deserve another opportunity. This is what they're going to pitch to ownership.
Yeah.
Do you think they deserve to come back another year?
Yeah, that playoff, getting to the playoffs holds some kind of, it hold a lot of weight.
Even the
it don't matter.
Even if
it don't matter.
Even 8-8. I mean, that's
it don't matter because every team it's an 8-8 league.
I know, and that
it's an 8-8 league.
Not always. The seventh seed would not have gotten in any other year.
No, I'm saying like
they've got an extra team.
It's set up to be 8-8. Like you're set up to be 8-8. Like nobody's going to dominate.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Look at the Patriots. Look at the Patriots.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So any given year, like anybody can emerge. Like so.
Well, the Bears are officially 8-8 now, 35-16.
Well, the Bears are officially out. Excuse me. The Bears have officially ended the regular season of 2020 with an 8-8 record. They fall to the Green Bay Packers by a final score of 35-16. The Packers improved to 13-3.
Yep.
They get the number one seed. They get the bye week, and of course, the Bears will wait for their opponent to see who they will clash against next week. Your call 773-763-9278, 773-763 WCPT. Let's go out to the phone lines. Tommy is first in line, joining us on the Rewind Sports 60, the Bears post game show. Tommy, how are you, man?
Say hey to you guys, man. It's a new year. I just want to say thank you for last year. Thank you for all of the guests that you have on and stuff. But I just would like to point something out to you, and I hope you guys, as astute as you are, will recognize this. I believe that the whole front office of the Chicago Bears need to be completely fired, all of them, every last one of them. And the reason why I say this, man, is because it's absolutely pathetic when you stop and you think that the way the Bears look playing against teams that was 300 compared to playing the Green Bay Packers, it's like paraplegics playing against Olympic runners or something. So I just want to say thank you for a new year, man. I've given up drinking. I've given up stuff, man. Because of these Bears, man, I'm telling you, 12 steps don't work. All you got to do is watch one of the Chicago Bears game. I love you guys.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, man. We appreciate you.
He might be right, though. It ain't time for nagging him to go. It's time for pacing him to go, maybe.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention that the Bears will be playing the Saints now. But I mean, obviously, we've gone through this before about changes in the front office, and I mean, a lot of what goes on, it's the players. Somehow, we thought that they weren't playing up to their capabilities through the middle of the season, obviously. And whose fault is that? Well, I thought it was the coaching myself.
No, you're right.
But maybe there needs to be some changes in the front office, but I don't think that's going to happen because they made the playoffs. Personally, we'll see.
And Quentin Dempsey, I mean, you said that, hey, if you make the playoffs, doesn't matter how you get in. The fact that you make the playoffs, it carries a lot of weight. I think it's unfortunate, and I think it does a disservice to the Chicago Bear fan base because, I mean, for whatever you think of Chicago Bear fans and Chicago sports fans, I mean, we're loyal to a fault, but we can see mediocrity.
You call it straight. You call it how it is.
We can see, and if you looked at Green Bay, if you looked at this game, the Packers and the Bears, and you looked at the offense of both teams, you saw what Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he said it was like a cat playing with a mouse. I can do whatever I want, whenever I want.
Every team almost. He's having an incredible year.
But you look at the play selection. You look at the play selection. But then when you flip the script and look at the Bears' offensive play calling, it was night and day.
Yeah.
It was night and day. And so Bear fans can see that the quarterback that we have in place now is not the guy. You said it earlier to start the show that he's a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
To me, Marvelous, this is why you have to make a decision now. For the simple fact that if you give him one more year, you're still setting back the franchise another 3.
They can't give him another year though,
dude. It takes 3 to 5 years for a championship to get on a championship, and now it's more like 1 to 3 years to get on the championship run.
I mean, he's clearly going to be playing next week.
You cannot bring him back. And the Bears, because of their loyalty, they're forcing Bear fans to accept this guy as our starting quarterback. They are forcing us, showing us, look at the numbers. And I'm tired of numbers because, as they say, the old cliche, numbers lie. And they have certainly lied in this situation regarding Mitchell Trubisky. He threw, he had his, 1,000-yard pass completion, third on the all-time list behind Jay Cutler and Jimmy Harbaugh. And so he's third in that category. And it's like, wow, look at the numbers. No, these numbers are deceptive. This guy is not a number one quarterback to lead you to the the championship.
Yeah. This is the only comeback I got for that. It's a new season now, baby. It's a whole new season now.
And
if he get us to the NFC Championship, everything gonna change for Mitchell.
I know. In fact,
let me tell you something.
He ain't gotta get us to the Super Bowl. Get us to the NFC Championship.
Fact of the matter is, they took New Orleans to overtime, but it was Foles at quarterback on November 1st.
Yeah. Listen to me. If Mitchell Trubisky leads, hey, listen, you guys watching on Facebook Live, we're streaming live. Quentin Dempsey's in studio, Marvelous One. You guys listening on WCPT 820 AM. You're watching us on Facebooks. Listen, if Mitchell Trubisky leads the Chicago Bears in the NFC Championship game, if he does that, I swear to God, I swear to Almighty, I swear to you, I will just down into my skivvies, my Hanes, because I wear Hanes because I like Michael Jordan, so I wear the Hanes. I will put my Hanes on with my mask. I will run down. I will run down the magnificent mile. I don't care what the temperature is.
Okay, well, here's the thing. I mean, since they didn't give him the option, is he now going to be a free agent after the year?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, maybe
he'll franchise tag him.
Okay, well, maybe he'll choose to leave.
They can franchise tag him. Hey,
maybe he will. Maybe he know what's going on more than us. Maybe he know he needs somewhere else to go.
Right, because I made the playoffs, so this might be my chance to make some money somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of teams that they're looking for a quarterback.
This might be the burst the Bears need to get back to that 5-1 team. There's a new season. Everything goes out the window. That happened. We lock it in on the Saints. Let's see what's good, Mitchell. Mitchell, get us 17 points and don't turn the ball over, please. We're going to do our best to stop Drew Brees now.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's Bears Central here at WCPT 820 AM, the Rewind Sports 60. Jerry Riles, the Marvelous One, Dan Marber, of course, the 17th letter of the alphabet, Quentin Dempsey in the studio, and of course, we go out to our TRS60 hotline. Ladies and gentlemen, you love him. He's number 51 in your programs. He's number 1 in our hearts, and he is our top-notch Bear analyst, along with the Q, Quentin Dempsey. He is none other, number 51. He's Bruce Heron on our TR60 hotline. What's up, Bruce? How are you?
Hey, man, listen, I'm going to tell you guys something. Through the first half, I'm saying, man, we got a chance. We can do this. We can do this. But you know what? Rather than me go on about my feelings about this game, there's a guy I want to introduce right now. I'm taking personal responsibility for everything that comes out of his mouth.
Okay, get that button ready.
Better known as I'm Mama's boy Otis. I'm one of a kind. The babies all love me for my life and mine. Yeah, Otis.
What's happening? What's happening?
Big O. What's up, Otis?
Hey.
Otis Wilson.
Fine, thank you. Can you guys hear me loud and clear?
We got you, Otis. How are you, brother?
I'm doing fine, thank you. I'm listening to y'all. Half of y'all know what you're talking about, and the other half don't know what you're talking about.
Well, that's why we got you on here, and you and Bruce Heron and Q, Quentin Dempsey, to straighten us out, because we don't know what the hell we talking about when we look at this Chicago Bears team, man. Listen, they just fell to the hated Green Bay Packers. They have a 6-game losing streak, and they still getting to the playoffs, man, so we certainly don't know what we talking about. So clear us up.
Well, let me say this, because the way the system is set up this year, to be 8-8, you know, that to me, you don't deserve to be in the playoffs. But it is what it is. So you got one more game, and I don't know who they're going to play. Is it
Saints.
I think I heard you guys say the Saints.
Yes.
The Saints going to beat them by 30 points. You know, flat out 30 points. You think Green Bay embarrassed, and they're going to really be embarrassed when they get to Drew Brees. But
I don't think so.
Green Bay is you got to face it this year, guys. They are on the money. I mean, they stalled a couple of times, but for the most part, when they had the ball, they controlled it. They controlled the clock. They controlled, what they wanted to do out there. The Bears played very good, as best they could play with what they had. Now that what you quarterback sneak 4 times in a row and you get it, and then the 5th time you run the football, you pass the football. Come on, that's stupid. You don't do that. You don't do that. So it's a lot that can be said, and it's a lot to say. You got a long way to go before you call yourself a playoff team.
Hey, we on with the great Otis Wilson of the Super Bowl winning Chicago Bears back in 1985. Of course, joined by Bruce Heron, who played with the greatest of all time. That, of course, may he rest in peace, Walter Payton, number 34. And, of course, in studio, former Chicago Bears. This guy was a hard-hitting mother. Hey, let me tell you something, Otis. I don't know if you ever had an opportunity to meet Quentin Demps, but he's in studio joining us as well to recap this Bear game and this Bear season. But this guy, Quentin Demps, who's sitting across from me in the studios, man, I truly believe, because you guys were the most dominant defense I've ever laced them up in the National Football League, in the world, in my opinion. But this guy, Quentin Demps, he could have played with y'all. He could have played with you guys. I don't know if you remember. I
don't know about that, Jerry.
Man, you was a hitter.
I don't know about that, Jerry.
Did you remember Quentin Demps? This guy was a hitter.
I remember him. I know exactly who he is, and I have much respect for his game. And when you come out there and play with us, you got to leave it on the sideline because we're taking no prisoners. So anybody that has that attitude and mentality, of course they can play with us.
Well, this guy certainly has the attitude, and that's one reason why he's a part of the Rewind Sports 60. And, you know, Otis, I talked with Q about, you know, the 6-game losing streak that the Bears went on and how this whole city wanted to just go up to Hallis Hall and dismantle that whole place. COVID or not, they wanted to rip that whole place apart. As a defensive unit, and for those people who may be too young or don't remember how dominant that 85 defense was, and God forbid, thank God y'all didn't go on a 6-game losing skid like this, but how would the defense have handled a situation like we just experienced with a 6-game losing streak and a quarterback who, well, I need to hear your comments on the quarterback situation, but how would you think would have handled a 2-game losing streak?
That's a good question.
Well, you know, anybody that's a competitor certainly don't want to lose.
Right.
And to be on whether it's a 1-game, 2-game, 3-game, any kind of losing streak, it's frustrating because you're trying everything in your book to turn that thing around and make sure that you put yourself back on the right track. You know, so it had to be frustrating. But keep in mind, guys, you know, Chicago's always had a great defense and never had an offense. They always had Walter Payton left, Walter Payton right. And every now and then they'll throw the football. You know, so it's always been defense, and they're burning their defense out. I mean, when you keep them out there on the field, I don't care how many Cleo Max you got or a team hit, they can only play for so long. I mean, when you get this deep into the season, your body is beat up, banged up, and hurting. But you keep going because of the pride you have and fellow teammates that you play with. You know, so Chicago's got to start doing a better job of evaluating and bringing people in here. But for the most part, it starts upstairs, and that's with the McCaskey family. I mean, they rather settle with folks that's going to do what they say do, how they say do it, as opposed to somebody that, you know, has a mind of their own. I mean, they really, behind the scenes, never accepted us as the 85 team. They thought we were, you know, they said that, you know, we never want a team like that again because we got too much notoriety and the focus wasn't on Chicago Bears. I said, well, you know, I'm sorry you feel that way, but we put ourselves in this position by playing good football.
That's it. What it boiled down to.
So again, we're on with the great Otis Wilson, who played with the dominating team, 1985 Super Bowl winning Chicago Bears, and of course joined by the great Bruce Heron, number 51, who played with the beloved as well. And of course, we're joined in studio by Quentin Demps. All three of them played with the beloved. Marvelous and I were Bear fans and media whores, but we never played with them. But back to what you just said, Otis, are you saying that the Bears front office, the ownership or the family said they didn't want a team, and I've heard rumblings of this as well, but you're saying that they didn't want a dominating team of that caliber again because it took the notoriety away from the family and it put too much promise on the players, the individuality of the players?
No doubt about it. I didn't stutter. No doubt about it.
Wow.
So,
I didn't know that. That's weird. That's heartbreaking.
Well, Bruce, you've been in the organization long enough to know, you know, you know, what's going to ins and outs. But, you know, it's always been a taboo thing that, hey, it's an honor to wear that C. I'm like, hey, a uniform's a uniform. We make the uniform.
Right.
Yeah.
So this leads me to ask this question that you brought up for me, because the last time the Bears went to the Super Bowl, that was, of course, a Lovie Smith coach team, and believe it or not, Rex Grossman was the quarterback, and he didn't get that team there. But after going 10-6 in his final year as the Bears coach, they let him go. And a lot of people were kind of surprised and stunned. They go, well, wait a minute. They told this man that he had to have a winning season if he wanted to come back the following year. He finished with a 10-6 mark, and he still got fired. Do you think that was part of their decision, that they didn't want to, again, get to that level of dominance, and Lovie was on his path, on his way to get there, and say they cut their legs out from underneath them so they wouldn't get to that point?
Well, I would say this. I mean, anybody that wins 10 games and get fired, you scratch your head and you wonder why.
Right.
But for the most part, they are grasping at anything and everything, you know, to get back to that point of where we were. But see, what you got to understand, you don't have those caliber people around the organization no more. You know, whether they're coaches, whether they're players, and you know, they I don't want to say they're desperate. They don't have to be desperate because they're the one that signed the checks, but they don't make wise decisions. Let me just put it that way.
Well,
let me say football decisions.
Well, after watching this season, and again, the black cloud that lingers over this football team in 2020 is that 6-game losing streak. And fans have been calling for a 6-game losing streak. Fans have been calling for Ted Phillips' head. They've been calling for Matt Nagy's head. They've been calling for Ryan Pace's head. They want Mitchell Trubisky out. The Bears, again, they backed into the playoffs. And the system is the way it is because of, you know, what we're going through. But do they stick to their guns and say, hey, listen, we believe that we're on the rise now because we made it to the playoffs. Mitchell Trubisky is finally getting the grasp of the offense, and our running game, we're utilizing the running back that we have. So we're heading in the positive direction despite the fact that we struggled. Or do you think that they seriously, George McCaskey, Virginia McCaskey, I don't know how much the input, but George McCaskey seriously needs to clean house and start the rebuild now?
You know, I don't really know if they. You got to understand, a lot of these owners that have these teams are football people. The McCaskey family is not football people. You know, when Muggsy was around, those were football people, and now they've gone. They've been bought out, gone a long time, and the organization never put in a good scouting department. You know, and Bruce can attest to a lot of this. I mean, they when they make their picks and when they have the people around, you know, they're not real. Look at Ted Phillips. He's an accountant. Come on, you ain't gonna tell me nothing about football because you don't know nothing about football. You know, you gonna read a book and then tell me what to do? So it always goes back to you have to be a good football player, have good football minds around, because Chicago's always had good defenses, and it's been bits and pieces. You got 4 or 5 people in them defenses that solidifies everything, but you had a great mind in Buddy Ryan. So that really brought it home. That hasn't been around in a long time, and you see, you know, the fruits of your labor. Come on. It shouldn't take that long to get back to the playoffs. And now, I mean, they limp into the playoffs, and I hear you guys keep talking about the 6-game losing streak. Well, look at the season game by game, you know, starting with Detroit. Every game
they should have lost that one.
That they won, they could have lost that game they barely got out of those games.
But that's football though, too. Though you can't say that though. That's football though, man.
They played the Baltimore. I'm sorry, the Indianapolis Colts, the team that had a good defense, and they started playing good teams. They lost. You know, so I go back to saying you have to have the horses. You can't run in the Kentucky Derby with a Clydesdale against a sprinter. It ain't gonna happen.
You know, this is Dan. A lot of teams have that same situation. Like the Bears, family owned, the Rooneys, and of course the Hunts, and so a lot of them don't have football minds in the management. So, I think that maybe what they really need is a football mind, particularly. The general manager type of job rather than ownership, because ownership a lot of times they are just accountants, honestly. Counting the cash.
I'm not saying in the family. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying you have to evaluate the family that's paying these people. You have to evaluate the people that's going to be in these positions.
Okay.
Well, the family got to know a little bit because they hiring them.
Oh, excuse me.
The family got to know a little bit though about football because they gotta pick and choose the guys that they hire, right?
They got to evaluate these people that they bringing up. So that a lot of it's their fault because their mentality is, and it's always been the case. They get something. If you see a guy that's worth $20 million on the stage right now, the Bears want to pay him $5 million. They want to get him cheap. If they can get a guy. That's why. Look at their drafts in the last 2. They taking 4th, 5th, 6th round people.
Mm-hmm.
They got to get a first round every now and then, but then they take Trubisky. Come on.
Otis,
you got to make sound decisions.
Otis, who would you have taken in that draft?
He's in Kansas City right now.
So you wouldn't have took him. You would have took Deshaun Watson.
You would have taken Mahomes over Deshaun Watson. I would not have.
Yeah, nobody saw Mahomes doing what he's doing, man. Everybody, Deshaun Watson was a clear-cut best one in that draft.
I would have taken Deshaun Watson.
Well, of course. I would have took the Prescott, the kid that got hurt over in
Dallas,
in the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Nah, I think that's hindsight.
I would have took him.
Nah, Watson was a clear-cut.
Anybody but Trubisky. So why do you think the Bears? Why do you think Ryan Pace fell in love with them? And what we heard, and if you're just tuning in, we're joined by Otis Wilson, Mama Boys, one of a kind. Of course, Bruce Heron, former Chicago Bear, laced it up back in the day with the great Walter Payton. May he rest in peace. And of course, the 17th letter of the alphabet, Quentin Demps, joining us in studio, former Bears safety. What they say that Mitchell Trubisky's stock was off the charts when he went to Indianapolis for the combine, working out and of course interviewing, and that's what led Ryan Pace to move up one spot to get this guy because his upside was tremendous. He was a super athlete. His IQ as far as football was concerned was off the charts, and he felt that this was the future as far as the Bears quarterbacking was concerned. What did you see in Mitchell Trubisky, and how did you react when you heard that he was the selection by the Chicago Bears?
Well, I ain't picking somebody to play cards with me on the plane when we come back from a game. I'm picking somebody that can, be productive out there. And to me, a guy played 12 games in college, 1 year. I don't care what kind of chart you're looking at. That was the wrong chart to be looking at.
I'll tell you why, though. I know why.
I just don't see it. I mean, I don't know what they see.
Well, here,
because Mitchell is the prototype quarterback off the field. He aced the interviews. I'm sure he was good in the classroom. He dressed properly, and that's why Ryan Pace fell in love with him. How he carried himself. He knew he wasn't going to have any drama. He's going to have a stand-up guy. He's going to handle the media well, and so that's what made him jump up. But what he didn't realize is that when the lights come on, it's a whole different ball game. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't. And I'm not saying he's right. I'm just saying that's what made Mitchell stand out. Is that like he's a prototypical NFL quarterback off the field. Like he's gonna handle this business. He's gonna be, you know what I mean. But between the lines, is deer in the headlights for the most part.
Yeah, but you know I'm gonna tell you something. My position is this. My position. Let me see that, Otis. My position is this. Mitchell Trubisky played 1 year in college. He was at North Carolina for 4. he had to wait until his senior year before he actually got his chance. So there were 3 starting quarterbacks. There were 3 years prior to him starting that he couldn't beat out the guy in front of him.
Wow.
Now, can anybody name the guy that was starting for North Carolina when Mitch was in his junior year?
Nope.
You know what? He's not in the NFL. If he is, he's a second or third string quarterback someplace.
Interesting. That's a great point.
So how can a guy come in 1 year after being in college for 4 years, in 1 year, that all of a sudden at the end of that 1 year, they saw all of this footage, all of this data that said this guy's got more ability and more potential to be successful than guys who were in the trenches playing in bowl games, being Heisman Trophy winners and leading their teams to championship. It doesn't make sense to me.
Hey, you know what, Bruce? That's a very good point. But here's what stumps me with this election. Here's what stumps me. Not the fact that he was even at North Carolina and he started his senior year. Here's what stumps me. Mitchell Trubisky is from a football state. That, of course, the state of Ohio, home of the Ohio State Buckeyes. I believe Mitchell Trubisky's senior year was Mr. Ohio. I think he was Mr. Ohio in the state of Ohio for football, and the Ohio State Buckeyes didn't even entertain giving him a scholarship. For the Ohio University didn't even entertain giving him a scholarship. So if you are Mr. Ohio as quarterback and the top school in the state don't even try to get you, let alone any other Big Ten school don't try to eat you up, that you got to go to North Carolina. And no offense to North Carolina and the Tar Heels and their program, but if you're Mr. Ohio in the state of Ohio with the Ohio State University and you can't even get an invite to there, something's wrong. Something is wrong, and now you're leading the NFL storybook franchise? That's ridiculous.
That's heavy.
Good point, guys.
That's
really good stuff.
Point.
I didn't even know those things.
Okay, it's Marquise Williams was the quarterback before Trubisky.
Hey, gentlemen, Otis, Bruce, Q, you guys, we want to take a quick phone call?
Yeah, for sure.
Let it fly.
Let's go out to the phone lines. Derek calling from Morton Grove. Derek, what's up, man? What's on your mind?
Actually, it's not Derek, it's Tor. I don't think I ever said my name.
Okay. What's up, brother? How are you?
Good. You guys have been talking a lot about, with how to perhaps clean house with the Bears organization, but I'm going to do the unthinkable. I'm actually going to defend Nagy's coaching record. In 3 years, it's 2 playoff appearances, no losing seasons, and it is a winning percentage for the 3 seasons combined, which I believe makes him probably the 4th best Bears head coach in history.
Wow. Okay. hey, do the offensive rankings too. The last 3 years. See what his play calling has been like.
Well, I'm just giving you the numbers.
No, that's good information.
Yeah, next week, hey man, next week, call us next week after the Bears fall to the New Orleans Saints in the playoffs.
No, they're gonna beat the Saints. The Bears are gonna beat the Saints.
What winning season they had?
They went to the playoffs.
No, 2 years ago. 2 years ago, they won the division. They were 12-4, right?
Yeah, right.
And then the last 4 seasons, they've gone 8-8. And those aren't losing seasons.
Right.
I mean, they're not, losing records.
Right.
By the numbers, strictly by the numbers.
No, that's good stuff. I think that's a good point.
Thanks, Sean. We appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Go ahead, Otis.
I'm saying that he really didn't have nothing to compare with those other coaches we had. I mean, they were bums.
I guess the last one was lovely.
Comparing them with the coaches they've had, prior to this guy. Oh my God, that ain't compared to nothing.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing. And we're on with Otis Wilson, Bruce Herron, and of course Quentin Demps, former Chicago Bear players on our TR60 hotline. That's the one thing, and I don't like because you can play with the numbers and you can make the numbers say anything or mean anything. And yes, they went 12-4, and yes, they made the playoffs. But a lot of people, even during that winning streak, and the 5-game win record that they started off the season with, many of us said it appears to be smoke and mirrors. And like Q said, hey, listen, You win by 1 point or 100 points. It's still football, and you still win. But it's not like a dominating. It's not like a dominating record, i.e. the Pittsburgh Steelers before they went on their tailspin. That they were just kicking people's ass before the New Orleans Saints this season. They were kicking people's ass. So you know when a team got it, and you know when a team just get by the skin of their teeth. And I think that's a reflection of what Matt Nagy's records indicate, that this Bears team, since his tenure, has been getting by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm going to say this. When you look at Matt Nagy's numbers, yeah, you look at his numbers look pretty good. But even that 12-4 season, who did they lose to in the playoffs? Philadelphia. They lost in the first round.
Double doink.
Yeah,
a double doink.
I mean, so I mean, they got nowhere. You got 12 and you go 12-4. Then after that, you go, what is 8-8 in 2019? 8-8 again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And but see, when you look at the numbers don't look that bad. But when you're looking at football, the numbers, you just take the numbers and throw them away, man. They don't tell you nothing. They don't tell you nothing good about his record. Nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
I'll say here. I'll give each of y'all a $100 bill if they go and beat the Saints.
Hey, well, Quentin Demp said that they can beat them.
Yeah, they're gonna beat the Saints.
Tell us why, Q.
I think the Saints.
There's always one in the group that's going. There's always one guy in the group that drank a lot.
I know. I gotta have hope, man. I gotta have hope. I'm only 3 years from the game. I ain't out that long. I'm hoping this new season give them some energy, man. So I'm being hopeful. I'm being hopeful, man. Hopefully Kamara ain't playing. Hopefully he's still on the COVID list.
No. Hopefully they get locked in there. Well, they gonna be at home, so they can't get locked in the hotel room. They can't miss the bus, dude. Hopefully they get locked in the locker room and somebody lose the key. That's the only way Bears got a chance, man.
Yeah, I'm just being hopeful. We'll see though. We'll see.
I get what you're saying, because anybody can be beat on any given Sunday.
Right.
Let's face that. You got to come to work and prepare and get ready. But when you look at how teams are playing, who's healthy, the situation, you got to be. They got to be. The Saints have to be a 10-point favorite.
Yeah, easily.
Hey, Otis. That's where my $100 going. That's where my $100 going. My $100 is going on the Saints next week.
I'm taking the Bears with the points. I hope they give us 25 points.
It might be a long afternoon. So, in essence, as we get ready to close, and I'd like to hear from all three of you, and of course the marvelous one. Yeah. Once the Bears are done, and I truly believe that they're done after 60 minutes of football against the New Orleans Saints next week, where do we go from here as far as an organization is concerned? And Otis, you kind of told us what you truly believe, how things operate up there. But once everything is done and the end of the season interviews and meetings and all of that takes place, where does this Bear brass go as far as the 2021 season is concerned with their front office, their coaching staff, and of course their player?
Well, number one, they ain't going nowhere because they going to a playoff game.
Told you.
And in their mind is, we're going in the right direction because we went to a playoff game. They really not evaluating. Well, let me scratch that word, evaluate. The people that they put in place right now, when you watch the rhetoric coming out of the locker room, let's start with Nagy. He says what you want him to say. You don't deviate from the plan. Ryan Pace don't say nothing at all. And the team, keeps doing what they do. Now, they keep talking about Mitsubishi scored 30 points in the last 3 games. Well, they played against the Texans. They didn't play against nobody.
Jaguars.
Jaguars, they had to do that in the third, fourth quarter and barely got through that.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to get the same ice cream you've been getting the last 2 years. They're going to force feed you that for another 2 years.
Another how many years?
2.
At least another 1 or 2 years. If he come back with another 9 and 18, that's successful to them.
Mm-hmm.
Because he'll get another playoff game. They're missing the big picture. Go get people that's on the edge. That you got to monitor. That you got to keep disciplined. They're not gonna have players like that around. They got people in that organization that when they say jump, the boys say how high. We wasn't going for that.
Right. Bruce?
We came here to play football. I don't care if you don't like me. We come here to win.
Yeah. No, you know what? And
that's my take on it.
And I love you for that, and I appreciate you for that, because the one thing that irritates me the most, first of all, I'm not a big fan of club dub. You win a game and you're partying in the locker room like you won a Super Bowl. No, act like you've been there. So I'm not a fan of club dub.
Okay.
But I'm also sick and tired of all the cliches, like you said, all the cliches that Matt Nagy. Listen to this presser after this game. He's going to come and say, all the guys, well, we play together and we love each other and we got each other's back and, we never gave up and we always believe. I don't want to hear that because it's BS. I don't want to hear that. I want you to talk football to me. I want you to show me some sense of respect and a level of knowledge as far as the game is concerned. And I want you to say, hey, man, we got our ass kicked. Aaron Rodgers beat the hell out of us. I want to hear that because at least you're being straight up and you're being honest to me. I don't want to hear this cliche stuff. I'm sick of it. I really, really am. Bruce, your thoughts on what happens now after they lose this playoff game?
Well, I tell you what, if they're not going to change out management, make some changes in management, then they definitely have to make some changes with the coaching staff. You know what? I'm sure Pagano is a nice guy, but I'm going to tell you something. And Otis knows this. Buddy wouldn't have the defense playing the way this defense is played, especially with the talent that they have. There's no way in hell Buddy would allow that to happen. But Buddy was a great schemer. Buddy was great at recognizing the talent he had and what he could do with that talent. He always put guys in position. Prior to the 85 team, Otis came in, 79 or 80? Otis, what year would you come in?
The 80 season.
80, yeah.
80. Yeah. I mean, we didn't have the best talent, but I'm going to tell you something. Buddy put the guys in position with the talent that they had, put them in position to be successful. And I'm telling you, man, and guys played their asses off. I mean, that 81 team, we didn't have the horses that this team has today. We didn't have that.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have some of the horses.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell you what, we played better defense. We played better defense. We were one of the top 5 defenses in the goddamn league.
Yeah.
Excuse my French.
No, you good.
But you know what? That's what the organization needs to do. They need to go through and evaluate the coaching and say, look, if this is the best talent we can get, then we've got to have better coaching. And you know what? And I like I said, I'm sure Pagano is a nice guy, a great guy, and he's been successful in the league. But he's not what the Bears need. He really isn't what the Bears need. It was too easy today for Green Bay to drive up and down the field on him. It's just crazy.
Too easy.
Man, it is crazy. Hey, man. It's the fastest hour in sports conversation. We certainly thank you so very much, Otis, for taking some time out to join us on this Bears post game show. Disappointing loss, but the Bears back into the playoffs, man. Any closing thoughts before we say goodbye to you?
Well, I want to come back next weekend and talk about this thing one more time.
Let's do it, brother. Yeah. It's a bet. It's a deal. Hey, Bruce, thank you so very much.
Jerry,
yes, sir.
Jerry, we got Otis hooked.
hey, the Bears got us hooked because we all want to beat the living crap out of them. But thank you so very much, man. We look forward to talking with you next week. Hey, Bruce, thank you, brother. We love you, and have a safe week, both of you guys. Happy New Year, and we certainly will talk with you, okay?
All right, love you guys too.
I'll talk to you guys later. God bless you.
Talk to you next week. God bless you. Be good. Hey, Q, thank you so very much, brother.
You,
closing thoughts real quick. You got 10 seconds.
COVID's going to give everybody grace. We'll be back
Okay.
Go Bears. Hey, Bears beat the
and don't
Saints.
forget, Bears and Saints. The games are being played at
Bears
noon,
win.
noon, 3:30, and 7 Saturday and Sunday. The schedule will come out tonight. And once the Bears beat New Orleans, they play Green Bay again.
There you go.
There you go, Marvelous.
Thanks to the Marvelous
Yeah.
One. Thanks to the 17th letter in the alphabet, Quentin Demps, and of course, Lauren Cox on assignment. Yours truly, Jerry Riles. Thanks to our outstanding producer, Devin Tingle. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great rest of your evening. Enjoy the week. Stay safe. Happy New Year. And we'll talk to you after a Bear game next week. Go Bears!
Still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the
For 4 years, we have witnessed turmoil in America, but nothing quite like this. The pro-Trump crowd fought with the police, trying to break through their lines, intoxicated by the unlikely prospect of reversing America's election outcome. We watched as the standoff continued for at least an hour. Tear gas canisters were fired from the very stage on which Joe Biden will be inaugurated. But for Capitol Hill police officers, this was a losing battle.
This is exactly what was feared, but in no way is this a surprise. It has been fueled by the president's rhetoric, and it's increasingly clear this election has not healed the wounds. It has simply amplified them.
We followed the aggrieved and infuriated Trump supporters as they stormed the building.
I swear that's CNN, and they just said these guys.
Through broken windows and doors they had forced open. And for a few heady moments they felt they had won a precious victory. They were now in the very heart of the congressional building.
Purpose of storming Congress itself?
Because they work for us. They don't get to steal it from us. They don't get to tell us we didn't see what we saw.
We respect the law. We were good people. The government did this to us. We were normal, good, law-abiding citizens, and you guys did this to us. We want our country back. We are protesting for our freedom right now. That's the difference.
What's the purpose of storming Congress?
How do I know that?
They reached and entered the Speaker's office itself. Although Nancy Pelosi and other lawmakers had already been evacuated to safety.
Here you go, brother.
As we filmed, protesters tore down Pelosi's nameplate.
And so here we are right now inside the halls of Congress. This is exactly what so many anticipated, and yet the Capitol Hill police are doing their best, but failing to control the situation.
We all know that they changed the rules mid-game, and they're not being held accountable, and that's a shame.
What's your message to the Capitol Hill police and to lawmakers here?
This is our country. This is our house. That's it.
This is our house.
This is our country. This is our country.
Inside the chamber itself, there was chaos. Agents hastily blocking the doors with furniture to keep the protesters out. Officers ready to open fire as a last resort. In the galleries, people took shelter. The great constitutional showdown in Congress had to be suspended.
Madam Speaker and members of Congress, pursuant to the Constitution and the laws of the United States.
A little earlier, the passions and America's political schism were on display as Trump loyalists acted to stop the certification.
I rise up for myself and 60 of my colleagues to object to the counting of the electoral ballots from Arizona.
But I would urge to both sides perhaps a bit less certitude and a bit more recognition that we are gathered at a time when democracy is in crisis.
But the plea to suspend certification of the election was fiercely contested by the leader of the Senate, who broke definitively with Trump.
If this election were overturned by mere allegations from the losing side, our democracy would enter a death spiral. We'd never see the whole nation accept an election again.
100 miles away in Delaware, President-elect Joe Biden pleaded for the intervention of the one man who could halt this.
I call on President Trump to go on national television now to fulfill his oath and defend the Constitution and demand an end to this siege, to storm the Capitol, to smash windows, to occupy offices, the floor of the United States Senate, rummaging through desks, on the Capitol, on the House of Representatives, threatening the safety of duly elected officials. It's not protest, it's insurrection.
Indeed, amid the chaos of this afternoon, shots were fired, and one protester badly wounded. The circumstances are not clear, but it is proof of how perilous it remains here tonight. This morning, the president spoke to the crowd in front of the White House, repeating his false claim that the election was stolen.
All of us here today do not want to see our election victory stolen by emboldened radical left Democrats, which is what they're doing, and stolen by the fake news media. That's what they've done and what they're doing. We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there's theft involved.
The cost of that rhetoric is increasingly clear. As crowds tonight are still swirling around Congress. And America's long journey as a stable democracy appears to be in genuine doubt.